This is part 6 of the Parthia Abridged campaign, where in the previous part we were taking down loads of Egyptians and it went better than expected. We also managed to push forwards our line against the Scythians up north with a scrappy little army. Then we killed some more Egyptians back down south, we took one of their settlements and took out another big army. And really we just need to keep going with our momentum down there. First though, a quick battle up top again, because the Scythians have walked past me, so I needed to go back and engage this enemy army. It's going to be a straight up horse archer battle. We're just spamming horse archers at each other. Luckily some public order improvements allowed me to bring some more horse archers over from the nearby town. So we're going to line up and shoot arrows at each other for the most part. But of course I have one thing that they don't, that's the ability to click on the Cantabrian circle button. Maybe those enemy units don't have it, but I think they actually do. The AI just doesn't like to use it. So this gives me an advantage in a ranged battle. Although that said, with how close the enemy are getting, I don't know how big that advantage is, because the main advantage of Cantabrian circle is it makes the firing AI miss all the time. Anyway, all we're going to do is stand around and try to focus down enemy horse archer units with a few of ours one at a time. Since both sides kind of have the same force here, we just need to get loads of individual micro victories until we've got enough to swarm them. On the left there I'm drawing away some of their infantry with my melee cav. I was kind of putting that one in the bank, I wasn't paying any attention to it, thinking I'll just keep shooting at the horse archers and later we can go find those guys in the corner or something. Well, I forgot to keep running away, so I did end up in melee with those guys and lost a bunch of cav. Inconvenient. But while that was happening, we appear to be winning the fight. It's actually pretty hard to tell what's going on because we're above the white ground where the white projectile trails kind of fade into obscurity. But we're probably shooting them, and it gets to a point when I just started running at them. They can run away indefinitely in some cases, but usually they'll hit the line, the skirmishing will mess up, and we'll get cases like this where our general manages to get into melee with the horse archers. He will absolutely annihilate them. And where we can't catch them, we can usually still shoot at them while pursuing. Here was a case where I ordered those two units to sandwich that enemy axe unit, but one of the units was JavCav and I didn't hold down, I think it's the Alt key or the F key or something, the thing that makes your ranged units attack in melee. So that didn't go quite so well, but it doesn't matter because the battle ends soon enough. A scrappy fight, not the best trade, but good enough. Now the threat to our backline is gone. We'll focus the army together with the goal of heading west at some point, and my other goal, as mentioned in the previous part, is to reinforce from the south with a few more units to make something more substantial up there. Back down on the Egyptian front, we've got an army hanging about near Damascus and I moved towards them with my secondary force. I also thought we might as well not attack Damascus this turn. The plan was to have the secondary army help the primary army take it down super easily because there is quite a bit of stuff inside. And if we run out of arrows or something before we've killed them all, could be inconvenient. However, we're not actually going to do that because by the next turn the Egyptian army has walked past everyone and gone towards Hatra, probably a good move from them. So instead I'm going to send just a few units to back up the first army at Damascus, just to make sure that battle is easy. Because I figured we're not going to use a lot of these units in a battle with Egypt, because we're going to do horse archer antics for the most part. So I moved out some infantry and one or two horse archer units, and then went in to do this fight. We just need to pull off some more horse archer antics and generally not engage the enemy as much as possible. Here we are, doing just that. We're going to stand in a line and fire arrows, and because they just have loads of pikes, there is nothing much they can do. There are some foot archers that could try to shoot at us. Fortunately, they didn't try, and we eventually killed them, so that's all good. Especially because we're in the open here, the skirmish mode kind of works when there are no obstacles, no pathfinding things to deal with. You can't just about move away from the slowest moving units in the game with no micro. After killing them for a while, they started to withdraw, which is of course perfect for us. It does mean these chariots will escape without damage. Well, not much we can do about that. As for everything else, there is very little hope of them making it to the edge of the map with this many horse archers attacking them. This ends up being a battle where the enemy didn't kill any of us, we just lost a few men due to friendly fire. I think the true master of the Parthia campaign can probably pull something off where you actually lose more troops to friendly fire than you do to kills by the enemy if you always do the Horse Archer micro perfectly. After the win, I decided to go back around towards Antioch to resume that project. Now we need to attack Damascus, so another familiar battle, but this time the more challenging kind, where we're going to be attacking a town, and the battle is not so much with the enemy but with the path finding. This could be a perfect battle, but it probably won't be. Although, spare a thought for the enemy who have chariots inside the town. I bet the pathfinding's going absolutely out of control trying to work out what to do with these guys. As I bombard them, you see them come down the street, and then some of them go to the right, some of them go to the left and actually come outside of the town. I was worried they were just going to chariot charge me, which wouldn't be the worst idea. Fortunately, I believe that was just a mistake. They're actually trying to go back towards the town centre and are just struggling to work out how to do it, all the while being hit by arrows. Elsewhere they've got infantry units. Well, we know what to do about that. Time for some more topless guy target practice. They've even kind of got their backs turned to us. This might not count as passing by their shield bonus for extra killing power, but we don't need it with like 6 units firing all at once. At some point I got the rams to go and open up the gates, and then I started pulling our large wing of horse archers inside to line up where the gap between the town and the walls is. There's just about enough space to stand in a big line. The problem was those chariots are back, and here we're in big danger. I've blocked off one of the streets, but not this one yet. I also had my men not on fire at will for a while, so they weren't even shooting the chariots. Handily, the chariots first seem to second guess themselves and start going back, so we've got a few arrows into them. We've got some infantry on the way here, but they're struggling to make it in time. Then the chariots do actually come in to attack the horse archers. This could be really deadly, but we're lucky. They rout straight away, and then as they go, they'll get hit by some more arrows. So yes, chariots could be quite good against our bunched up horse archers in the street. They could just ram through all of us and get massive kills. We have no defensive stats. Fortunately, they didn't, so we don't have to deal with any nightmares there. But we do still have to deal with the general nightmare of attacking the town centre. You can see I got all of my guys standing on top of each other at one point. This massively reduces our firing rate, but it means we're all together. There's less space to be managing. I quite like it like this. Meanwhile, their cavalry and their chariots have gone to fight my spears in a different part of the town. That's ideal for us. Even though our spears suck, their bonus against Cav will at least allow them to do something. Chariots are super weak against spearmen, so they die pretty easily. Their general's Cav was a different matter, but he routs and everything else also routs, and it just so happens that all the units were not standing on the capture point, so we don't have to do the final fight to the death phase that we usually end up doing. Very handy. I'm going to do some enslaving here. We even get an achievement for it. History's greatest excuse. I did it for the achievement. We're also going to blow up their temple and replace it with the correct temple. This all in all should mean we don't have to sit in Damascus for too long and can go and attack other places. Here we are in the next turn, doing just that. I wanted to go down towards Bostra. There are some enemy armies on the road. Unfortunately, we couldn't reach the first of them. This will prove to be quite annoying actually, as we'll see in the next turn. We're also going to go and start that siege at Antioch. They've now got stone walls here though. The first time we're facing these things, the classic enemy of the horse archer. We can't shoot over them, and the towers are more effective. We need infantry to do things like use siege towers as well, so our horse archers are much less effective in that situation. Here was me being distracted by notifications. I'll talk more about notifications actually in a second because a relevant thing happened. There's something weird happening. Down in the bottom right, we're being attacked by Egypt. We'll have to get back to that. We've also got Scythia interrupting my reinforcement plan for our Scythian front. I was bringing troops up from the Armenian regions to join our main force so we could push against Scythia. On the way, a bunch of horse archers attack our bunch of horse archers. So it's time for a classic horse archer on horse archer brawl. But we have the advantage here really, because while we're just going to stand in a line and shoot at each other, we can do the spin to win maneuver to make the enemy miss. A lot of the projectile trails seem to have randomly turned off in this battle. That's why I was checking that menu there. Not sure why, sometimes they just don't always show up. But yes, we shoot, we should win because our shots will do a bit more than theirs with our circles going. We're losing stamina doing it, but that shouldn't matter too much. Plus our general is sprinting out through the enemy lines to go for their one unit of foot archers and take them out of the fight as soon as possible. Looks like we're just about catching up to them, although the enemy's horse archers are now going to focus down my general because he's so far out of our line. We need this fight to be over as soon as possible, really. Indeed, their horse archers actually charged on in to fight my general. That's probably a bad idea from them that's going to help us out, and we're focusing down these advanced horse archer units from the enemy, so those fights will be easy to win. It got to the point when I just thought, let's run at them. We've killed a whole bunch of them with our ranged attacks. This wasn't that successful, and we did actually lose like one unit to routing by running into the enemy's horse archers. Overall though, their horse archers are pretty similar in melee to ours, and they start to withdraw again. This won't be as advantageous as it is with Egypt. In fact, it's the opposite thing, because as they withdraw, they will still be shooting at you, so we are essentially still doing the fight, just moving it towards the edge of the map. That's still in our advantage though, because we have more things to shoot. It's a more number situation. Off they go. We don't quite kill them all, but that's going to make life easier for us. A bit of a scrappy fight where a couple of hundred troops were lost. Annoying, but we were going to have to fight these guys in the near future most likely anyway. Now on the Egyptian front, the guys who were in front of our main force are going around us now, a pretty good move. So we need to split the army up. I was about to send some troops out, and then I realised we can do a spy maneuver on Bostra. I've got this spy just standing here. I'm finally going to remember spying stuff. We can throw him in there, then grab some more troops to go after him. The second time I grabbed troops, I just grabbed the left-hand side of the army after carefully selecting units the first time. Some classic laziness, but in we go with some stuff. The spy unfortunately does not open the gate, so now we'll just have to stand here. Not too much of a problem, it's just the enemy could reinforce and stop that not very strong army. I also could now go and attack the nearby Egyptian armies with what's left, but I also didn't want to, so instead I started moving back towards Damascus. This is another case of laziness. We could probably stop the enemy now, but I didn't really feel like doing a battle, so we'll just sit in the town and see what they do. We can make some use of it by grabbing some retraining there to top off our units. On the Scythian front, it's time to move. We've got our big army assembled at last. You can see that the Scythians have a plan to stop us. They're somehow in ambush position in that open space. Maybe they can do that. They can set up an ambush without there being trees around. Not sure how it works. What we're going to do is go and stand in the ambush zone. They can't ambush us because we've already revealed them, and we can't fight them because we're out of movement points, so we'll just stand there. Here's a look at that random siege down in the bottom right. We've got 2 units of Eastern infantry and some peasants. All they have is one general with heavy chariots. It's their faction leader, in fact. So he can't attack us, but if we attack him, his chariots could just run us over. His units cause fear, and we have the joint lowest morale units in the game, so we might not be able to engage him in a battle. So that siege is just going to carry on, and we'll have to come back to that way later to try and do something about it. Another siege is set up there at Palmyra. That's one of the armies I could have killed but didn't bother. Well, we're going to have to do it now, so I guess I just put that one off. Here's some interesting news. Pontus come to me saying they're going to attack me unless I pay them. I thought I was allied to Pontus. At some point, who knows when, we stopped being allied to them, and I didn't realise, probably because the notification for it was lost among the other notifications. It comes up on the same notification page as like world diplomacy news, where it's just telling you that the Romans and the Greeks are having their 16th ceasefire. So I tend not to read those notifications, but turns out at some point we did actually get into some trouble, and Pontus are attacking us right now, even though, as you might have noted, I actually did pay their little demands to not attack us. They attacked us anyway. I've absolutely fallen for it here. The good news is that their attack is terrible, so it's not going to be too difficult to take that small army down. Here was me searching through all of my unread news. I was like, where is this thing about us not being allied to Pontus? I bet it happened ages ago, and we've just totally missed it. Well, at least we know what the situation is now. We are at war on all of our border in all directions. We finally got to the most difficult possible situation. Now let's deal with it. We're going to not do our siege at Antioch in response to this. this army will come back to be my defensive army and generally patrol this area between Hatra and Kotes, where the Pontus forces could show up at any point. And of course we'll try to relieve the siege at Hatra on the way. Here's an easy siege to relieve, the Palmyra one. We attack the units besieging it, they fall back, we can't quite catch up to them, but Palmyra has units in it that can sneak around and start a battle, like this. So now we have a nice easy fight, going to do it manually to go for those 0 casualty results. This army though that I'm using isn't really our standard fare, because of all the splitting of units I've been doing. I've ended up with only 2 units of horse archers. We've actually got a mainly spearman based army. That's no good to anyone. Our spearmen are worse than their Nubian spearmen, especially when they're in phalanx formation. But 2 units of horse archers is enough to do a fair amount of antics. We can still annoy the enemy and try not to engage. And on top of that, we do actually have some regular ranged units we can finally take advantage of, some slingers and some peltasts. They attack the flank of this enemy phalanx unit. That's going to do big damage, the unshielded flank as well. Boom, they rout, and now we'll cut those guys down as they leave. So we'll keep doing this until we're out of ammunition, all of the enemy die, and it just so happens that the enemy are going to die before we run out of ammunition, especially as their morale gets low. We can just kill half of them, then charge into melee, kill the rest, and that will be that. So let's cut to the end. We did indeed achieve a 0 casualties from the enemy battle here, but again some casualties due to friendly fire, unavoidable really. So that army will now be ready to go on and fight the other Egyptian army that's nearby. On the Scythian front we've got an annoying situation. The army that was standing in front of me has split, and again some of it's gone around me. More annoying strategies from the AI, they're doing pretty good right now. So we have to split our army up here as well. We're going to split it into a larger portion and a smaller portion. The larger portion will be going backwards to deal with the enemy attack. The smaller portion will keep going forwards, primarily into the enemy faction leader who's right in front of us with not many troops. You know, we had to do it to them, there's not much they can do in this situation. And if the projectile trails weren't on, it would kind of look like nothing's happening. Luckily, we can tell that we are raining arrows in the dark on the enemy. They're probably in trouble here. First we take out a bunch of their horse archers, then their general looks like he's going for my general but gives up after a brief chase. He probably wouldn't catch up in the end anyway. We're going to do a Cav Charge against that tiny unit of archers with these mercenaries. That's probably going to work out, but their general is now coming back over here. So while we get the archers, we're quickly put into a melee with their heavy cav. Our arrows are raining down on those heavy cav. That's probably deducted a couple of their hit points, so I thought let's just go for it here. We'll charge them from both sides. This did go worse than I expected. I thought they would rout when in this situation. But they fight on, and they indeed kill a whole bunch of our mercenary cav. Inconvenient, but we win the battle in the end and also kill their faction leader, so that's all very nice. The Sarmatians are gone, we lost like 50 troops, probably a fine engagement. I keep accidentally bringing up the advisor screen, which is what happens if you press M. It's because I keep feeling like that's how you merge your troops, it's actually Control M. Should be more part of the main UI to merge your troops. I think there might be a button for it somewhere, since it is a very useful feature. But anyway, moving on, we've got the next battle. We're just going to fight the other Scythian group nearby. This time we have a big pile of horse archers. They don't, so we don't need to do anything special for this battle. We'll sit nearby and wait for victory. The AI has to work out what to do in this situation. If they advance, we'll just move back. If they don't advance, they'll lose, so they're in a real pickle. We easily take out their ranged component to make this nice and easy for us, and the AI then comes to the correct conclusion. They're going to withdraw. Yes, this might actually save some of their lives, and indeed it does, among their cavalry, because they'll be able to escape us. We need to be careful here actually, because their retreating cav will engage us in melee if they make contact, and they will win because they've got heavy cav there against our horse archers. So need to be careful to not actually stand in the route of their retreat. In this case they change their route after making contact by the looks of things, so we get away with it somehow. And then broadly speaking, we shoot everything as it leaves the map. We even catch up to their general, who took a very long time to leave, and amid this storm of arrows we kill all of his bodyguards and right on the line we kill him as well, plus a bunch of our own troops who were pursuing too close. So that's pretty good. That was important, because that was their faction heir. And because we've now killed their leader and faction heir in the same turn, that could potentially destroy their faction, but maybe that's a Medieval 2 mechanic that I'm remembering incorrectly here. If you kill everybody in the royal family, it's supposed to destroy their faction. Not that we knew whether that was their entire royal family. There was a chance there, basically, that the Scythians would just be defeated as a faction because we killed a bunch of stuff this turn. They were not defeated, and I'm not sure whether it was actually possible in retrospect, because I don't remember. That's what I'm trying to say, a long way of saying nothing happened, but we did win the battle, so we'll get back to our Scythian campaign once the armies reunite. We now need to take Bostra. Not too much to this one, just 3 enemy units. But it took me a good 20 minutes because I was being really careful and trying to avoid pathfinding issues as much as possible. Ended up even doing some melee tactics, cornering the enemy and attacking from multiple sides, leaving a side open to shoot with the horse archers. Well, that works out because these enemies are low morale. Just sort of annoying them away from the capture point will get them to try and retreat back. If that route is blocked, they won't make it. So while this battle took a long time and was pretty annoying, we're going to skip over it for this series. Getting pretty bored at this stage of doing this battle, particularly because we've done this sort of thing a million times. But at least it's satisfying when you get it right. You can kill tons of enemies without taking many losses. Would be better if it was a field battle though, of course. We enslaved the captives, ready to move on as soon as possible. And that's that, another advance against the Egyptians. Overall, our war against Egypt and Scythia seems to be okay in both cases. We're scoring many victories and we even still have a bit of momentum. We'll see next time how Pontus throwing their hat into the ring, the very middle of the ring between our two fronts, is going to change that up.